Good evening and welcome to the June 21st, 2022 Planning Board meeting. Nancy, please take attendance.
Yes. Commissioner Nierenberg,
Present.
Barra,
Present.
We didn't hear you, Nancy, sorry.
okay. Commissioner Wolfson,
Present.
Commissioner Michael.
Nope.
And Chairman Leo.
Present. On this evening's agenda, we have the approval of the meeting minutes held on May 17th, 30 Elm Street, 25 Main Street, which is a subdivision, 125 Columbus Avenue, which is a subdivision as well, and 3133 Main Street, which is site plan approval. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes
So moved.
May 17th, 2022?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, so let's do 30 Elm Street. Is the applicant for 30 Elm Street here?
Yes, I'm right here. I seem to have gotten lost here. Can you see me?
Hey, Len. See you.
Okay. Seem to have lost, there we go. That should be here. Okay. So for 30 Elm Street, we are looking to create a little bit more use of the existing facility. Our request was to be able to have parties that would last till about 11 o'clock on the weekends. The building is allowed to stay open until 10 o'clock right now with the previous use that we were allowed with the building. But we find that we feel that we need to have additional use of the facility. Some of the uses will be for parties, small gatherings, nothing big. We have a small building area that we would like to use. If I can share the screen for a second.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. And basically it's up on the second floor level where it's basically an exercise room, but it's also used for a meeting room. It's also used for award ceremonies after we have games at night and during the daytime, obviously weekends. And we're just trying to be able to get more use of the space. It's been a very difficult time through COVID. And we find that people have been requesting to use the facilities. They've had, small parties over there. So we can have small parties there in the past where they have kids coming in, using the courts, and also then having a birthday cake over here in the room itself. There were some issues when they first started doing this, and obviously they didn't realize they weren't allowed to be doing it at the time, but they had some, I think it was like a pre-wedding party, and it got a little loud in the garage after hours. And so they've realized at that point that they have to keep people out of the garage, and they can close the gates at the garage on the two ends of the building. It's at this side and this side, and keep people out at 10 o'clock so there's nobody hanging out in the garage afterwards. There are two residences that are adjacent and have always been there before, even before it was a gas station. So these houses have been, next to commercial properties for a long time. So what they would like to do is be able to get a little extra use out of the space in order to be able to pay their bills and be able to survive COVID and survive all the problems that they've had in the past. And I'm open to questions.
Sometimes the best adventures
Someone,
Nice.
So here's to the local hangs, drinks with
Someone
good
turn their
and new favorites waiting to be discovered. It's all here for you when you're ready for fun in the 941.
Okay.
You what?
Not sure where the music was coming from.
All right.
But
So,
music. And it was a quiet party, as you noticed.
okay. Okay. So my
That was from
understanding,
that last bridal party, Lenny.
probably.
All right.
Yes. So you're looking. So there's an existing meeting room which you're looking to make into some sort of a party room. But it sounds like this is already has been in operation for quite some time, because we checked, and last year this particular facility received four noise complaints. Yeah, and they varied in time between 7:30 p.m. all the way up to past 11 o'clock in the evening. So this space does have a little bit of a history of being an issue to the residential tenants adjacent to this property. And I'm sure a lot of the complaints are from the residential neighbors, and I would love to hear from them. So I'm hoping, they get this message somehow and can come to the meeting or just be on Zoom. And I'd like to hear what the experiences are. But I'm assuming it's probably a young family and they have small children, and I guess the noise has gotten a little out of hand
The
sometimes.
business has been in operation for about 10 years, and to have 4 complaints in 10 years is not exactly a nightmare. Nor is it fair that they would get complaints at 7:30 in the evening and 8 o'clock in the evening, which has been, I think 3 of the complaints were early, and there was 1 late complaint. We're not denying that. And that 1 late complaint certainly was a problem because they didn't expect it. They thought people left and, they were cleaning up, and they didn't realize people were down in their cars, turning on radios and listening to music and still continuing the party. And that's why they said they will definitely, keep people out at 10 o'clock from the parking lots. They'll stop the use of the parking lots. They can't use it, but they're only looking to go till 11 o'clock. Now, they are allowed to go till 10 o'clock right now. So we're not looking for a big change. We're just looking for a small change. And it's just a matter of a minor use.
Mr. Brandis, I gave you an opportunity to speak. Will you give me the decency to allow me to finish my thoughts before you jump all over it?
No problem.
You sure? I
Absolutely.
have a habit of doing that. So give me an opportunity to complete my thoughts, and then you have an ample opportunity to speak. All right? So as part of the original resolution, first of all, it's you've had 4 complaints in 1 year, not 10 years, 1 year. They've been on May 23rd, July 17th, August 22nd, December 4th, and December 26th. And the times have varied from 7:32, 10:46, 11:08, 10:30, and 10:25. Just to be clear. Secondly, I know you built this building, as part of your approval, did they provide you approval to have a party area, or is this just a meeting room?
As I recall, the area was supposed to be used for awards afterwards. It was a combination room, the area that's we're talking about. And the idea was that it could be used for having gatherings after games, that people would get together and be able to celebrate or give out awards for the games that were done at the time.
Okay, can we get a copy of the original resolution for this? I'd like to see it, what they're allowed to do. So Bill, or if you have it, Mr. Brandis, I'd like to get a copy of it so we can review it.
I will get that to you. I don't have it at this moment.
That's
I was
fine.
hoping to get it during the past week, but I have not received it yet.
Okay, so let me please submit it to the building department. We'll forward it to the board. So I'd like to see what the original application for the building was and what the resolution indicated what this space was to be used for. Additionally, I'd also like to know what are the hours of operation for this facility that was approved at the time of approval.
Okay. We'll get you that information.
Okay. All right. Okay. And your proposal for this application is to be able to have events until 11 p.m.
Yes, 11 p.m. on the weekends.
Weekends. Okay. And you indicated that you want to close your gate at 10 p.m.
Correct.
Garage gate. So if I come here and I park if I come to one of these parties and I park in your parking lot there, right? And I'm allowed to stay there till 11, and you're closing the gates at 10. Am I locked into that parking lot? What happens?
Well, the idea is that we can allow people out, but the idea is not to let more people in and having parties continue. The idea is to get the cars out of the lot at 10 o'clock. Would be the concept. To ask people to leave, to get the cars out so that we can close the gates and so that we can, prevent the issue that occurred.
Well, reality, you probably have to do it both in tandem, end the party and close the parking lot at the same time. Nick and I ask people to go downstairs in the middle of a party to move your car. That's realistic. So I need you to kind of, when we discuss this again, I need you to kind of have a solid plan on how we're going to use this space.
All right.
All right. All right, those are the questions I have. Does anyone from the board have any questions?
No, I think you've covered them, Antonio. My questions, I think you've addressed.
Hey,
Anyone
Antonio, I got a question for you. It's Mike. Is this the third floor or is this the second floor we're looking at right here?
It doesn't
Uh,
indicate on the
this-
plans. I don't know.
This is actually the third floor of the building. It's the upper floor level, the
It's
mezzanine,
the upper level.
mezzanine
Okay.
level.
Okay. So the second level is different too. So just so everybody's aware of
The
that.
second level is all, that area over here is actually changing rooms, locker rooms over here on the second level, which is the same entry to the courts itself at that level.
That's
This
what I'm
upper
curious.
level is for exercise equipment. That was always, we're gonna have exercise equipment or training up here, that type
Right.
of things up here.
Yep, thanks.
Hey, Bill, does the code have any kind of provisions for a public assembly? In other words, based on square footage and total number of people allowed to be in this particular, let's say, room, based on a number of staircases, egress, the building code have stuff like that?
It does. I can check to see how many people are allowed in the room based on the square footage. But I'm
Right.
sure that the stairways are more than enough egress for the path of travel out.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about the staircases. I'm more concerned about the space itself, because if he's going to, let's say, limit his events to that room, which looks to be, let's say, I don't know, 400, 500 square feet, there's a formula based on the number of people allowed in that location. So we should have like a not to exceed number for that space.
Well, if there's seating and standing, there are two numbers. One
Yeah,
is 7 square feet per person, the other one's 15.
15.
So we can work those numbers out.
Okay.
All right, and we want to keep that under 50 people anyway, to be
Yeah,
honest.
again, we got to, Bill, you also have to calculate the door size and all that good stuff. So number of units, door units.
Yeah, we gotta look at the bathrooms too here, Billy. I don't see it.
Yeah, there doesn't look like any facilities up there.
The facilities are all downstairs.
Yeah, okay.
Those are locker rooms. Those have full facilities for probably over 100 people. We're not looking at having that many people there.
Okay.
So,
All right, so if you could do the calculation for us, Mr. Brandis, based on the size of your space and the requirements for code and, egress to the doors.
keep in mind it is a fully sprinkled building as well.
I got it. So
Hey,
you allowed
Antonio,
more-
I think you said 50 people. I see seating for
Maximum.
16 here.
Right, we said maximum. I would have no more than 50. It would probably be less than 50 people. We're not really going to have, these are not for large parties. We're talking about, maybe, 25 to 35 people. We're not looking at having huge parties here. Now, if there are kids that are going to come to have birthday parties, they'll be downstairs, if anything like that, or they'll be in the open areas. But that's, for using the facilities, they have games and things like that. They play squash games, things like that. That has been done. That there's been no problems with those, obviously during the daytime.
Okay.
Squash courts.
Anyone else on the board have any questions? Okay, since there's all the questions, I make a motion to open the public hearing. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone here to speak on this application? All right, since I'm assuming no one's here, I'm going to make a motion to keep the public hearing open until next month. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so, Mr. Brandes, please have the information requested by the workshop, which is in 2 weeks.
Okay, no
Um,
problem.
all right,
Can I ask one question on the reports of the police reports? Have the police reported finding a lot of noise going on? with
they're
those
all noise
reports?
complaints.
Excuse me?
They are all noise complaints.
No, did the police go there and find noise is what I was asking?
Yes, DJ, loud noises, in several instances, yes, and a couple, I think the people have left.
Okay. Okay, so I'd like to get copies of the reports as well.
I'm sure the building department will share those with you.
Okay.
Let's see, we got,
Does he have to foil those?
Huh?
Gary, does he have to foil those?
No, we have them. They're part of his record now, and he's the applicant. I see no problem just giving it to him to expedite this thing.
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to 25 Main Street, Metro, the subdivision.
Okay, do we have Jessica? Would
Hi.
you like to start?
Oh, no, you can go ahead. Hi, everybody. Hi, Gary.
All right, so 25 Main Street, we're looking for the subdivision we had reviewed. Let me open up. If I can share the screen again. Okay. It's the Metro MTA has, this has a long history going back to 2008 when there was a original agreement for a long-term lease, a 250-plus-year lease for the property to work with this historic building. The building itself, they decided originally the lease area was covering up, I believe, up to this area here, which included some parking and garbage areas, and then worked its way over here. As we worked it through, additional work was done. Let me blow this up a little bit. And move this over a little. Everybody can see this. Additional work was done on the southern portion of the lot where additional lease was taken out, where we were making a walkway, covered walkway that came from Main Street over here down to the building and parking lot so the commuters can use it to go up and get to their cars and back and forth. And it is my understanding that during those negotiations that there was an parking easement, which was part of this original area that became part of the building itself as part of the agreement. So the parking spaces for this area were given as well. As it changed hands from Metro North to MTA, there was a lot of questions about this property. They insisted on taking over the additional northern portion up to this area. And that was to, I guess, to alleviate Metro North of some of their responsibilities. The owner is aware of the 15-foot setbacks that had been negotiated with Metro North. They know there's trees that they have to take care of by taking this over, but it was the only way that they were willing to sell the property as a full parcel, at which point the sale is what's going on right now. I believe that's pending or getting close to completion at this point, if I'm not mistaken. So the Metro North insisted that we take this area as well as the other area as part of the sale of the property. Now that it's MTA as opposed to Metro North. And that was just through different negotiations. I know there were questions about the parking areas, and we had, if I got this correct, let me open up that parking lot area for you.
Hey, Lenny, isn't MTA just an acronym for Metro North?
No, it's Metropolitan
Metropolitan
Transit Authority as
Transit
opposed to Metro
Who
North.
owned it?
Apparently, it's two different corporations and the way they were working. The
There are two
system-
different entities.
it's
Okay,
different entities, and Metro North sold to MTA, to Metro Transportation Authority.
Right.
So there was a lot of things going on with that. And I know there were questions about the parking lot itself and how the parking lot works and what we're using and what's being used and how there's areas this is going to be going against the zoning board at this point in terms of reducing the number of parking. The original agreement was that they had to have 21 parking spaces. These parking spaces are not being used very often. So we'd like to obviously get that removed from the plans itself. I can add photographs to this as well. So we can look at the parking lot. I think it'll be easier.
And right, Lenny, that would be subject to a different application before the zoning.
Can you guys
Yes.
hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm having video problems. I'm gonna leave and come back in. Give me a second, please.
Okay.
Lenny, have you put that on the screen already? Or photograph?
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay. Now I'm waiting for my photos to load up. I'll get back to my Zoom meeting. Okay, if I can share the photos with you.
Sure.
Okay, so basically just showing the photos of the building. If you want, I can blow that up a little bit so it'd be easier on the screens. Do that. And basically, this is looking down at the building. Here's the promenade, the walkway that was added at great expense, I must say. It was about $500,000 to create this walkway for the town and the village for people to use to get down to the parking lot and to the building. It did serve both purposes. These are the spaces that were kept in as part of the easement. And now there's the parking spaces themselves all around the parking lot. You can see it from the other side right here. So we're just looking at the two different sides. There are metered parking spaces all around the spaces here. These are spaces that are the ones that are being in question. They are usually empty all day. We feel it should get back to the village for short-term parking or long-term parking, whichever they feel they need. The parking spaces over here are short-term parking. That's in the opposite the building itself over here. And those are being used, and those do get utilized, and most of the parking spaces in the back are getting utilized. So we feel it definitely make more sense for the village to put meters on there than for it to just sit vacant. It obviously can be used. This is just a picture of the space itself, the tracks, just showing you where we are going from in terms of where we are going down the end. A little close-up of the back end over here, the shrubs here. It's a matter of, we're looking to just, these are this park, once again, these are the parking spaces that we do have as part of it. This space is 15, and it's these spaces that we feel that are not getting utilized, and the parking lot itself is usually pretty busy. So to be able to utilize that again for the village, I think would make a lot more sense than to keep it as right now. But that'll go on to the zoning board, not for this application. I just want everybody to know the history of what's going on here.
Okay.
Lenny, were you able to find the agreement from Peter as to what agreement he had with the village board?
Jessica, can you see what you have
Yeah,
found?
thank you. Are you referring to the 2008 site plan approval?
No, the agreement between Solar Electric and the village board.
Right, I'm asking from what year, do you know? I mean, because we found the 2008 the site plan approval, but there's nothing recorded against the property in connection with the parking. So I know we were talking about agreement that was recorded, but it wasn't recorded against the property.
No, there's an agreement that I found in the attorney's office that refers to 21 spots, 10 of which Mr. Barducci was to pay for, and the other 11 were supposed to be short-term meters.
Hey, Bill, do you have a copy of that?
Right.
I'm sure it's in the file, Gary. I can go through it again.
Yeah, if you could share that with me, I'll share it with you, Jessica. So I
Thank you,
haven't seen
Gary.
it yet either.
But if I just wanted to sort of bifurcate the conversation about the parking and about the lot split, because I feel like they're both very, very heady. And if you want to talk about the parking first, that's fine. But I feel like because the parking is going to be a separate application, it makes sense to focus first on the lot split, which is just the green trapezoid figure that Lenny had around the building alongside the tracks.
Hey, Lenny, do you mind going back to the survey?
Yep, going right to that.
I'm still confused.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course, Antonio.
Lenny, can you go to the one with the parking, the next slide?
Let me dig that up again. Give me 1 second, I'm sorry. screen share. Okay, does that help?
So this is what I'd like to understand, right? So as Bill indicated earlier, when this project was approved, right, the agreement was, is it 21 parking spaces? And I think it's the one, from number 1 through 21. If you go from number 1 to 12, those are the ones that have meters, right? And it makes sense to me because people that are going to be going to 25 Main Street for this, whatever services, are going to be parking there for short term. In other words, if there's a dance school, a bar, whatever, they'll be there for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever the time period is. Then parking space 13 through 21, in my mind, I could be wrong, those were to be assigned to the building. In other words, if you were the owner of the bar, if you're the owner of a hair salon, whatever it was in this building, those parking spaces would be allocated to those tenants of the building. Now, I could be wrong, but I believe that's the way it was set up. For you, and as part of when we had the workshop, as part of my question to you was, okay, I'd like to understand the occupancy of the building. In other words, who's in this building? I know there's a restaurant. I know there's, again, I don't know who's in this building, but it's a substantial building. And I believe that parking spaces will be required for those tenants that are going to be, occupying the spaces within this building. So that's what I'm trying to wrap around my head around is you're looking to get rid of those parking spaces. I'm saying to myself, okay, where are those people who are own businesses that are in that building going to park? Because the rest of the parking spaces are all, long-term parking spaces that the village sells. And then 1 through 12 are, again, I'm assuming it's going to be customers coming, to your facility.
I agree that there is I think separate information about the parking spaces. I think it's not disputed that parking spaces 13 through 21 belong to the building. And I think what Len was trying to show with his pictures that even with, just those spaces, that the parking spaces aren't heavily used. However, I just want to, and for my own understanding, because I feel like this conversation has a lot of history to it, I would like to understand, is the allocation of the parking spaces, 1 through 12 and then 13 through 21, does that have relevance to the lot split application?
They always have to go together because the reality is, that building needs parking to be viable. Otherwise, what are you going to do with the building with no parking?
No, for sure. Meaning, let's take the current situation as we can be sure of and sort of put the controversy aside for a moment. If we're talking about 25 Main Street with the existing parking spaces of 13 through 21, and then there's a lot split application before the planning board, if that's sort of the pretend universe that I'd like to set up for a moment, is the nature of the parking between spaces 1 and 12 relevant to the lot split application?
I mean, it's all relevant. I understand what you're trying to do. It's all
No, I just for my own understanding. I have no agenda.
The subdivision is relevant to the parking right now because the subdivision is something that the MTA is sort of pushing on us right now in terms of the sale of the property. And we want to know what that has to do with the parking. The parking is a separate issue with a separate application. So right now, we just really want to resolve the subdivision area right now.
No,
Harry, how can they resolve the subdivision right now if there's no parking for the building? There's no parking, there's no easement.
I'm trying to understand that from this survey. I don't know who owns what. It doesn't say who owns what. It doesn't say who owns parking spaces 1 through 12. There's a parking easement that it's a curvy line. I don't know where that is.
Like, can you go back to the diagram with the parking spaces? But you're right. I know there's two different things, but the reality is we need to, before you can vote on anything, you need to understand what you're getting into. So I think, personally, perhaps if you're going to go, you might have to go to zoning first before you come to planning.
If they're looking for, Antonio, if they're looking for a reduction, they do.
But we're
Or
currently.
let's say we're not
only-
looking for a reduction if that's the case.
We're currently
If
only.
we're not looking for a reduction, the parking is
I agree
separate
that
from
there
this
has to be
issue.
greater
Hold
clarity
on.
on the ownership of the spaces and the allocation of the spaces, and there would not be an application to reduce the amount of spaces that belong to the building if the amount of spaces were below the requirements for the users in the building. But just to understand what the requirements are and what the information that's needed for the lot split, which is just to effectuate an ownership change and not to effectuate any other change of use or practice in the building. Because the MTA is selling off this portion of the property, they're turning a long-term lease of hundreds of years into a sale. And that's the application before us, because they've changed what they are asking for in terms of from their tenants. We're changing a 300-year lease into a sale. And for those purposes, we need a lot line adjustment. I'm not trying to sideline the conversation about parking. I just want to separate them because they're both kind of complicated. And my apologies if I talked over anyone.
Frank, if you're trying to speak, you're on mute. So I agree with you. I understand that, this is just literally subdividing the building from the rest of the parking lot. I get all of that, right? And it makes sense. But I think there's a lot of confusion as far as these 21 parking spaces. In my mind, the village owns all these parking spaces, right? Based on.
That's correct.
Okay, owns all these parking spaces. And again, I don't know for a fact, I'd like to understand it as well, but my understanding is they're allowing, they place the parking space number 1 through 12 with short-term meters for the use for people coming to your building, customers, customer parking primarily. And then 13 to 21 were assigned to the building because the building needs parking, for people, for the tenants of the building. And I believe that, I could be wrong again, I don't know, that your client pays the village for spaces 13 through 21. So I think there's some confusion. I believe that's what I understand. I could be wrong, but I'd like to iron this all out for this application. So we don't have to go through this 20 years from now when someone else is going to deal with it. So
At
Frank,
the
I'm sorry,
risk
you wanted to say
of
something.
adding expense to our client, does it, and forgive me, this is a very basic question, but are there joint, not joint hearings between the zoning board and the planning board, but should we make a more robust and more complete application for the parking space reduction? Could that be to both boards so that both boards have the opportunity to ask these questions and have that discussion separate from the lot line adjustment?
Antonio, could
Yes.
I make a suggestion here?
Please.
Which relates to seeker again, and that is, I think here you do need to see in the EAF the complete, what is the complete application? Is this an application for a subdivision? And is it an application for variances? Which I gather it is from the description. I think, Jessica, you need to add that into the EAF. I think otherwise you have an EAF that's segmented right now, never mentions the ZBA. It doesn't mention what are the actions that follow from the pure sale of land. What is it that you want to do? I think that one of the purposes of the EAF is to make that clear. And otherwise, I think you have a segmented application.
My apologies. I thought that we were going to file a separate EAF at the zoning board when we would submit the parking waiver request. So
You can.
in my mind, this
You
was
can-
solely for the lot line adjustment.
You can consider it that way if you want to have an uncoordinated review between the planning board and the ZBA. I'm just suggesting that at both boards, they need to know what the totality of the application is.
Understood. Mr. Leo, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
And I'm just sort of looking through my notes. Len and I have the names of the users and their uses in the building. But before I pull that up, let's take the most conservative approach. Spaces 1 through 12 are short-term metered parking, and spaces 13 through 21 are assigned to the building. If that
No,
is the case,
Jessica, could I straighten it out before you just go any further? Because that's incorrect. 1
Please.
through 11 were supposed to be short-term meters. 12 through 21 were supposed to be purchased by your client at whatever arrangement he made with the village board. So
when you say we're
we're,
supposed to be purchased, does that mean that the purchase didn't happen, or just we're not sure?
No, not purchased, leased from the village each year.
But
As
that's
a,
understanding, right? Because the supposed to and the presumed.
It was annual, it was an annual agreement.
Is that still current? I mean, I'm sorry that Peter couldn't be here tonight. He had a family situation that he had.
I
to
believe that
attend.
is still current. He does pay the
So,
village.
so that's, so, right. so
no,
that's my-
Gary, he doesn't, he's supposed to pay right now because of the reduction from the zoning board for 5, but he only pays for 3 at this location. 2 of them he's using for his 29 Elm Street location. So he's supposed to right now currently pay for 5 for that location. He's paying for 3.
It's very
So it's not even according to the agreement and the zoning resolution that granted him to go from 10 to 5.
And that was for 1 year though, if I recall correctly, correct?
That's correct. He was supposed to go back in February and hasn't returned yet.
All right.
And you said, Bill, 1 through 12 is short-term
1 to
parking. Is that-
11, short term, 12
No,
to 21,
Oh,
lease.
okay.
All right.
And
so-
is that
so
how it's
it-
being used right now? Is that short-term parking, 1 through 11? So I can go down there, put money in a meter and,
Correct. 1 to
No,
11.
Gary, the last time I went by there was no meters there and there was just signs saying it was reserved for the building. So there was never meters there.
I have a question about that. I mean, and I feel like I'm making this more complicated, but if there aren't meters, is that Peter's responsibility or the village?
Who's supposed to put in the meters?
the village would have been, if it was short-term parking, that's the village's obligation. But did Peter put up signs there, Bill, you said?
Yeah, he
I can go down
did.
and look.
Peter put up signs.
There
I
are
believe
signs.
Caroline has got photos of them.
We can,
Guys, it's Mike from the building department. Listen, and Bill will concur this. I think everybody needs to get a gist of what transpired, because me and Bill were, I think and Gary might have been there, the only ones when he went for site plan approval. The original existing building had nothing at all. It had no tenancy. So when Peter went in and said, I'm going to make this building XYZ, at the end of the day, the planning board was very adamant with the 21 spaces. For Peter to get those 21 spaces, he had to allocate them and make an agreement with the village. It's as simple as that. So that's how we got allocated 21 spaces to that building for that use at that time. So whatever tenancy Peter had going in and out of that building, he would maintain those 21 parking spaces. Since then, he came in and got a reduction for a 1-year period. He got that 1-year period, it's expired. So at this point, either he goes back to the zoning board for a variance on whatever he feels fit for, or he needs to maintain those 21 parking spaces as far as me and Bill are concerned in the building department. It's as simple as that. That's exactly what transpired. This building was vacant and never had a use. As soon as Pete came in and either leased it, bought it, whatever he did at that time, the village was very adamant that they maintain the 21 spaces, period. That's as simple as I can get it.
okay,
And
if
by
we
maintain,
take
just so
21
that I'm
spaces off the
clear.
board right now and say we're going to maintain those 21 spaces at this time, can we move along with going with the subdivision?
I believe you can, but Gary has to entertain that. But the planning board, I guess it would, I'm not going to speak for the chairman, he would have to maintain those 21. If you maintain those 21 spaces, not speaking for Bill, I believe the building department's not going to say you need that variance.
And by maintain, you mean paid for?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, however you feel, yeah, I guess, because you
Well,
don't
no,
have
I
any
want to make
parking.
sure we're not talking about shoveling or, I mean, it's
No.
just, Like,
You-
call
you
it
have-
what it is.
I'm
You
sorry,
pay
when
for
I
the
say
space.
maintain, they have to be allocated to you guys.
I
No,
appreciate it.
Jessica, all he had to do was pay, he had at least 10 spaces a year. That's what the agreement was.
Correct. And the
You're
other,
contradicting each other.
no,
One-
the other ones were, the village would entertain, make sure that those spaces were metered or whatever it was at that time.
And that was part of the agreement with the MTA. Because we had to maintain a certain number of spaces with our agreement with the MTA.
Yeah, correct.
And
Thank
Bill and
you.
Mike,
Thank you for-
may I ask, what is the zoning requirement for parking? Do we know?
21,
It is, so the zoning requirement is 21.
Correct.
based
That's
on
why
the
we don't-
usage,
we didn't-
yes.
Correct. That's why, Frank, we didn't care what the use comes in and out of the building. We never really had to do an analysis because they had 21. So as long as
Right.
they maintain that 21, Peter can rent that space out to anybody that
Okay.
would fit within that 21 box. That's as simple
Right.
as that.
So I think, Jessica, you ought to list that, you ought to add on the EAF to that. And if you're asking for a variance from the 21, you ought to say what that variance is.
And if we're not asking for a variance.
And if you're not asking for one, that's great.
Then we just.
One less
withdraw
board
that
you're going to.
application.
Yeah.
And it's in front of the planning board, Gary, unless Gary tells me otherwise, it's in front of the planning board for a subdivision, period.
Yeah, no, that seems right. I'm still confused why the village didn't make those 1 through 11 short-term parking meters.
Again, I have no idea. All I know is I remember we were gonna allocate 21 spaces, however they
Yeah.
did it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, this was before me, so I'll have to look and see what that agreement is, and I'll share that with you, Jessica.
You're dating me and Bill now, Gary.
I know you guys are the old ones. So the question for you, going back to the survey, the subdivision, what is Metro North piecing off? Or are they just giving you the whole piece?
Taking out the,
Big plus
basically
sign.
the walkway, the building, and all the way down to,
Yeah, from what
green
piece?
area.
I
Do
know,
you want
yes.
Len to put it back up? Do you want to see the
Yeah, from
survey?
what, yeah, that'll be fine.
Thank
So
you,
I know they're
Len.
transferring this to Peter's company, but what are they portioning off? Or are they just transferring everything they own in that parking lot to Peter? And there wouldn't be a subdivision.
What else would they own?
But
then?
they-
What else? Because I
Along-
can't see else here what they own.
Like what they own.
In addition, yeah, so when you do a subdivision or a lot line adjustment, what are they adjusting? What are they?
They are still owning the tracks and the area around the tracks itself. The rest of it is all in green right here. They want to eliminate, this is where they own right now, what they feel responsible for, and they want to lose that responsibility. But obviously the tracks themselves in that area there over here is who owns is what they're maintaining.
So
They do
they're,
not-
in
I
essence,
believe
they're
this is all
subdividing,
Villages
yeah,
of Tuckahoe. This is all Tuckahoe property.
right.
So Page South, Gary, is all Tuckahoe. The green and the orange color is the subdivision. And then the Page North is the MTA.
Correct.
Okay, so they're taking they own the property to the north and all the green and red, and they're gonna take the green and red. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
So they own nothing else in that lot.
Not that I know of. The rest, I believe, belongs to the village.
Okay.
Yeah, it says Village of Tuckahoe. all the way
It
up.
says right here, it's formerly Village of Tuckahoe, Tuckahoe.
Yeah, but you're looking at all specific lots there, and
Right.
they're blocked off, so there's other portions here that I can't tell. It says
think we
Borough
need to-
Welcome owns something.
I agree that we need to confirm from them, is this area over here where they say in the easement? Or we could just check, I guess, in the books.
Yeah, who's the easement in favor of? Who does it go towards? Who's it in favor of? Who gave the easement? Don't know.
That would
Gary,
be
would you
good.
like additional information on the survey that shows where the MTA currently, where they'll maintain title?
Yes.
That would be very helpful. I was going to
Yeah,
say,
that-
Gary,
that-
what I think's happening is that MTA is simply getting rid of what they consider excess property. So it'd be good to just show what MTA owns and that this is a parcel they're selling.
Yeah, okay, I got it. I didn't know it doesn't say what they own and what
Right,
they're
right.
portioning off. But I understand it now that it's the tracks that they own, but they own nothing else in the parking lot.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. And then
And
he's,
and
yeah, Jeff,
what
if we
happens
could
with
find-
the easement, right?
Yeah, who granted the easement in favor of who?
Well, there was an agreement with the village that they had to maintain a certain amount of commuter parking spaces within the lot.
No, that's not that wouldn't be the easement though. An easement's something
We
different.
can, we'll, I mean, it's hard because some of this is old, but we'll try and track that down.
Okay. Okay, I think that'll be very helpful, because then we can see what that parking encompasses, what that parking easement encompasses. I just don't know what it is.
Sure.
Okay, and we will discuss with our client about removing the removal of parking spaces as a separate application. We'll take that out at this time. So that
Okay.
this can get clarified and finished.
Yeah, no, I know it's very confusing, and I think everyone's confused on this. We all got to get on the same page so we know going forward, hey, this is how it's going to be used. This is whose responsibility it is. This is what Peter needs to do. This is what the village needs to do. I'm just a little confused
Yeah.
myself right now, but
I think also Jessica should revise the EAF so that this discussion, gets reflected. Jessica, the EAF, the proposed action, the description of it in part 1, it doesn't say what the action is. And I think the action is a subdivision of property from the MTA to the owner.
Okay.
And that action needs to be reflected. It needs to say what the action actually is. And you need to put in little things like the applicants, in this case, I guess the applicant is your client, is, what their name is again, and their telephone number, their phone number and address, and then someone needs to sign it at the end.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to get your comments
Yeah,
before
yeah,
we signed it.
Yeah, and what usually the seeker forms say, and the short form may not say this, it would be good to just show this subdivision map just attached to the EAF so people can understand otherwise people are not going to understand what the action is.
That's, thank you. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Hey, Gary, while we're talking about things to straighten out with going forward with only the subdivision, we should ask Peter how he wants to handle the value of the property for the rec fee.
Wouldn't that go to Todd?
Well, I think it's up, if they certainly okay with that, that's fine with us. But I don't know whether or not they're going to be okay with that, or they want a separate appraiser to appraise the value of the property.
yeah, I can speak to Jessica on that. I'll go walk her through the code on that.
Thank you, Gary.
The next couple days.
Lenny,
Anybody else on the board have any questions? Okay.
No,
Caroline, you want to say something?
yes, I was waiting to see if anybody from the board had questions. Lenny, can you please walk us through once again what the green line is and what the pink area is?
The green line is the limits of the property for the subdivision. The pink area is the building that's existing, the historic building that's there.
So you basically, thank you, Lenny, you're basically proposing that the green line is no longer part of this property. Is that correct?
When the green line becomes all together, this becomes one big property, the building and the property itself. The green line is the limits of the
The current
subdivision.
property, Caroline, it's the current property line for that building.
Correct. What I'm trying to get is that entire access from Main Street to the building currently is part of your property and you're trying to make it still part of your property?
It is still part of the property, yes. That's the walkway with the covered walkway over here.
All right, so
This
what
double
is,
line actually
do you
represents.
have a before and after to show everybody?
Excuse me?
Would you have a before and after so everybody can see where you are right now and what you're trying to achieve with this subdivision?
Of the lot line?
Yes.
The difference in the lot line that was approved originally, the lot line went straight across over here. And now now that MTA has it, they're insisting that we're taking this additional property from the original approval plans that were originally approved by the village and the MTA. So this whole section was originally approved. This is already approved as for development, that they use this for development over here with the walkway. The MTA added this area, and that's what caused it, I guess, the big issue with the subdivision, that all of a sudden it changed. That's a much larger lot, even though it's not really usable land.
Right.
It's mostly a steep slope going down to the tracks and wooded, so but it is what the MTA is insisting on.
And Lenny, did that insistence come after MTA joined in the application saying this is fine? Like, do we need another letter from MTA saying?
No, this is a letter from the MTA. This is what they're suggesting. This is what they want us to use.
But do we have
Wait, do
something?
you mean in 2008,
Do we have
the
something?
extension of property?
Yeah, do we have something currently from MTA saying this
Yes.
current?
Yes, they have reviewed what
Great.
the application that was submitted.
Okay, that we're looking at right now, Jessica? This is-
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
This main document was designed by them, was put together by them.
Gary, I believe we have a letter from the
Hey, Lenny,
MTA.
that explains a lot.
Okay, Gary.
Is the transfer pending the approval of the subdivision?
Yes.
And one last comment, and Bill and Gary, you might correct me if I'm wrong. I understand that we have some private signs in all of these parking spots, and those are not allowed as per the village, correct? With the name of the establishments, for example, Growlers has
Yeah, no,
private
and those
signs.
need to be meters, and hopefully the village board can look at this issue and have meters, short-term meters installed in this location.
And even not talking about the meters, Antonio, I guess we're talking about the signage. Those have to be removed. Am I correct, Bill?
We're gonna work that out with Lieutenant Rhoda from the police department.
Okay, very good.
Are those signs in violation of the code?
I think they might be, Jessica, I think what they're saying, there might be on village property. I think we're talking through 1 through 11, the spaces 1 through 11, that's on village property. That's supposed to be short-term meters. I think there's signs there now existing saying that they're for private property, private ownership use.
Yeah.
But
Correct.
we gotta look, we gotta see what the easement is. There's a lot to look at here.
So
But
we're
if-
not in danger of getting violations anytime, like tomorrow.
I think-
The police department will know better about this. They enforce those parking spots, and apparently it's not allowed, but you should definitely confirm.
No, we'll make sure that there's no violations issued until we work this out. They've
Thank
been
you.
there for a while and we'll talk about it. Give you
Hey,
plenty of
guys,
notice.
one other question. Len, can you go back down a little bit?
A little lower on this?
Yeah, so I could see the actual site, the entire site plan. I guess the question I have is,
Prepared by the MTA, is prepared for them.
gotcha.
Main Street Depot, just so you know that this is the original section right here.
Yeah, I guess the question now is, when you subdivide this property, right? Your owner now has to maintain like the sidewalks, snow removal, cleaning, everything associated with owning this piece of property, right? It's no longer going to be maintained by anyone in the village.
Correct.
So Gary, part of the resolution, we gotta make sure we indicate that. Okay. Anyone else have any
Yeah, that's
questions?
not a problem, Antonio.
Okay. All right, then, well, I guess we'll see you at the work session. Hopefully we'll have some more information.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry, on that note, more information on the subdivision for the survey, all the questions that were raised about the survey. We'll have those
EIF,
answers.
I don't think you guys have submitted an EIF yet, right?
I've submitted an EAF, but I've gotten comments tonight, and I'll.
Yeah,
update
Antonio,
them.
they gave us an EAF this afternoon, and those are the comments I had on the EAF.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Is there anyone here that wants to comment? I don't know if somebody from the public showed up to want to comment on this.
You want to open up the public hearing?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Let's get the ball rolling to see if there's any comments. If there's none, then we can just keep it open and then until we
Okay.
get the information.
All right, I make a motion to open the public hearing. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Is anyone here this evening to speak in this application? All right, since no one's raised their hand, I'll make a motion to keep the public hearing open. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All right, guys, so I guess we'll see you at the work session.
Okay.
Antonio, I'm sorry, one more comment. Frank, you mentioned a few
Carolina.
times EIF, and maybe people from the public are not familiar with that term. Could you please just put it on the record what that means?
Yeah, the initials EAF stand for an Environmental Assessment Form. And before any board takes an action, such as your board, the planning board takes an action on this subdivision, you need to have that EAF in place, and then you need to have declared yourself lead agency. So I think once the EAF is modified and completed, you have this application complete before you can declare lead agency for it. And then you'll have to eventually decide, is this a negative declaration? That is, this action of this subdivision has no significant adverse impacts on the environment. And if it doesn't, which I expect it won't, actually, I hope. Parking's an issue, but I think it's being worked out. If it doesn't, then you are then free to make what's called a negative declaration, and then you can act on the subdivision application.
Hey,
That's the
Frank,
state
excuse
law.
me, but
Thank you.
don't we have to do a 239 M referral?
Yes, yeah. As part of this, what Bill's talking about is, referring this, let's just see. Oh, yes, you do, Bill. You're within 500 feet. Yeah, you do need to refer this to county planning board, and they'll get back to you. Actually, once you have this worked out, you have a complete application, you should go ahead and refer it. I might suggest putting a,
Jessica, call me in the morning and we'll work that out to get it over to the county.
yeah. By the way, expect
Thank you,
some
Bill.
comment from the county. If I think the board's dealt with the county for a long time, but Jessica, if you haven't, the county is probably going to ask for, the man who writes these for the county, he owns a bike and he's very into biking, and he usually asks for a bike rack or, something of that sort. It's discretionary. The 239M review, you can act on if you like, or if you think the suggestions are not good, you don't have to take them.
Thank you.
And Jessica, one more thing, just try to talk to Peter and clarify whether or not you'll be going to zoning board so me and Bill can make some kind of direction on which way we're going with the subdivision, if it needs variances or not, please.
I want to ask you for more information on that, but I'm not sure I do.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk tomorrow. Bill, you in tomorrow?
Yes.
All right. So we can talk tomorrow and see where we're
Yeah.
at, what we're thinking.
Yeah, because Thursday we're in school.
Okay. It's about time.
Yeah, okay.
Mike too?
I'm in school every day.
I'll talk about Mike. Is he in school as well?
Yeah, I gotta go to school, gotta keep that license.
All right. Have fun. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you,
all.
everybody. Have a great
Good night.
night.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye. 125 Columbus Avenue. Is the applicant here for 125?
That should be Paul. Paul, you there? You're on mute.
They scared him away with the last subdivision.
Oh, there we go. Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, good.
Can't see you though.
Can't see me? All right. What do I got to do for that? Let's see. Start
Hit the
video.
video button.
There we go.
Nope, still can't see you.
Oh.
There you go. Now I can see you.
Hello. All right, I'm all in now.
You're in.
How
Do
you
it.
doing?
Identify yourself and let us know
Paul Tavalola, owner down at 125 Columbus Avenue, where we're trying to re-subdivide the property down there. Basically looking to move the property line 60 feet, 5 inches north of where it is currently. I had gave each of you a survey which identifies the old property line and where the new property line, where we want to move it to. And I also,
Can you project it on the screen? Or
I'm not that good at that type of thing. I'm sorry. But I did provide 12 copies for every planning board member.
hold on a second. All right, I'm gonna share my screen so you can talk to us.
All right.
This is the site, right?
Yes, that's it. Exactly right. And it
Currently,
shows
this is your existing site. And what
exactly.
you're proposing to do is extend this site to this location over here, so
Exactly.
that you can take those parking spaces and allocate it to this building,
Yes.
correct?
Perfect.
And,
Yeah.
and then this would be the second site, second lot.
Right. That's would be the second lot. Right. Correct.
Right. Okay.
We currently lease it out to the gym using that bigger lot with the new lot, where it says new lot. That's how we lease out that piece of property. And I also attached the minutes of a meeting from 2015 where we addressed any issues with parking for that facility and making sure there was enough parking and getting a special use permit. So really what I'm looking to do is actually just put it on paper now as to the way we rent it out, actually move the line physically. So that's the goal.
Right, and I think at the work session, we had talked about yes, you did submit just had it a second ago.
Yeah, I submitted a copy of the
I have
minute, from that 2015 meeting, where they issued a special use permit, and then they okayed the parking situation and everything, and we got our CO from there. And then also last week, they had asked me to, and I sent Bill a EAF form that I downloaded from the site, New York State site. I sent him that this week also.
Okay, so we haven't received it yet, so I'm sure we'll receive it soon.
Yeah, Antonio, you will. We're just having a little trouble with the network at Village Hall.
Right, okay. Mr. Tavalula, I'm looking at the approvals at the meeting of July 21st, right? And it indicated 12 parking spaces were allocated to this facility, right?
Yeah, that's what it actually says in there.
But it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 are actually used or available.
Well, they show that on there. I mean, when I look at it, I don't really agree with that personally.
Okay.
I think there's more like 16, maybe more, and if you go there and you look at the site, you could see they're parking all along on that back lot. They're parking another 6 cars across there, and in the front, they could pull sideways in the front, at least one more. I mean,
Yeah, no, I've actually been by your site here, and yes, quite a few cars are placed on this small little triangular piece of property.
Yeah,
it's a very active little lot. Okay.
Which one you talking about? Oh, the other side there. Yeah, but
this side over here. Oh my
right,
God.
right. Yeah.
That's
I know. I talked to him about trying to clean that up and get it straightened out.
Yeah, no, it's I guess okay, I understand what you're trying to do, but now I'd like to kind of and which is within your rights here. You indicated this is your electrician, right?
Yes.
Currently, there's a small building that's occupied by an electrician, and you indicated during the work session that he has parking here, and you had kept, I think you said, 3 or 4 for yourself, and now you're gonna give him 2 more. So
Well,
that,
yeah, he had originally rented out 2 of those 4 lanes, and I recently leased him that's 1 more lane, so he'd have a little more parking.
so he gave him this, and this, and you're
Right,
keeping this, right?
Yeah, well, right now we do for any service vehicles or whatever.
And this guy here, I mean, this site says grass area, but that business has parked cars all the way out to
Well,
here.
but I did talk to him about that, and he says that parking along the street, like, those parking spots are not his cars. Those are all the cars from inside that, between the building across the street and inside the Manhattan Motors or whatever it is there across the street. Those are the workers. The workers are not parking in those buildings. They're out there on the street.
Yeah, I mean, they're parking spaces, I get that, but I'm actually concerned about the cars on the physical lot itself.
Yeah, I did.
I know, listen, I know these are parking spaces and anyone can park at this location. I get it, but the concern is, I mean, does he have a parking lot license over here? Or, I mean, was this always meant to be 20, again, I'm exaggerating.
I've been there for
15 parking spaces there?
I'm not even sure, I'll be honest with you. I don't know, because it's been there for so long. I'm not sure the exact amount. I'd have to go and take a look.
Antonio,
Yes,
I
sir.
have a copy of his parking lot license. I can scan it and send it to everybody.
So this is a parking lot over here?
Yes,
Okay, and so this is a parking lot as well?
yes.
Okay, and these we got as part of the resolution. Okay. Yeah, I just want to understand this because, wow, we just got so much going on here. Okay. And then the other thing we spoke about at the work session was that you were going to go get this property assessed, either through the town assessor or I guess any other company that can provide you an estimate on the value of the property. Because by giving this parking space to this building, it's going to become more valuable. Have you been able to do that?
I wasn't really asked to do it. Bill was gonna contact the tax assessor to see something about a rec fee, basically.
Right. Bill, was this sent to
I did send a PDF to Bill to have sent to the tax assessor. That's it.
I haven't received anything back, Antonio. I will check. Like I said, we've been having trouble sending and receiving emails.
Okay.
So I will make sure that he gets it and we get that information.
All right. So again, so let's look at that, and then if you could just send us the parking lot situation over here.
I will get you both, the parking lot license and the thing.
And this one here, I'd just like to know how many parking spaces were allowed here, because this is all tandem parking over here, and it's coming off of.
Those are tandem parking, yeah.
Sorry?
So yes, tandem parking.
Right.
I remember we approved, we had, Antonio, we had something where we approved that electrical contractor when he took that space, came to the board and we approved fans, Bill.
Answering. Well, what are you doing?
Okay, so you said you approved the,
We approved whatever, we approved it.
Where'd you go?
When that gentleman, used to be a deli at once, right?
What else?
Electrical contractor. And then we approved.
Bullshit. You always touch me right away.
Land.
Delay. What are you doing?
Mr. Brescia,
Hey,
can you put
Dominic,
yourself on mute?
you're not on mute.
Mr. Brescia, can you put yourself on mute?
Hey, Dave, that was originally approved for the tow truck company that was there. And when he left, because there was no real change in the use, the electrician took over. It was for 2 tandem
right.
spots or 4 spaces.
That's right. That's right. But your memory is much better than mine.
2 tandem spots, 4 spaces, but I think we have at least 8 spaces here, right?
There's 8 spaces there, so I recently leased him the 2 more spaces, so he has a total of 6 now, so he could, so his work can park there.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to understand what was approved for. Was it approved for 8 or 6 or 4? Bill.
When it was the tow truck company, it was approved for 4.
Okay, so can we get the resolution for that building? Are the 2 parking lot approvals for the electrical, let's call it the small electrical building, and the larger auto body shop or mechanic, whatever that is.
Well, the small electrical building, because of the number of spots that it had, didn't require a parking lot license.
Let's say, well, they have 8 spots. When do you require a parking lot license? How many spots?
I believe it's more than 6.
All right, we're at 8 here.
Well, no, I only give.
It doesn't
him
matter.
6.
You can put 8 cars there. That doesn't, I know you only gave him 6. I get that part. But the reality is the space can accommodate 8.
Got you.
All right, so we'll look. So 3 things here, right? One is, let's just get the town assessor hopefully to tell us if there's any sort of value changes in the lots. Number 2, if we could just get a copy of the resolutions for the parking lots. That's what I'd like to see. Anyone else from the board need to have any questions on this application?
None here.
No.
So Gary, I'm going to open a public hearing just to get it going.
Yep, that
Okay.
sounds good.
All right, so I make a motion to open the public hearing. Can I have a second, please?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Is there anyone here this evening to speak in this application? All right, since there's no one here this evening to speak in this application, I make a motion to keep the public hearing open. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so, Mr. Tavalila, you know what we need to do. So, and Bill, if you could get that information to the board as soon as possible, so we can hopefully get everybody going on their way.
Yes.
All right, great.
Is there, can you give me a time frame of what do you think, in other words, to resolve this and possibly split up
Well,
that?
Yeah, so we meet in 2 weeks, so hopefully you'll have, we'll get the information regarding the approvals of the parking lots. We'll see what that is. And then hopefully the town assessor will provide us some information. Right now we have nobody commenting on your project. So, I mean, should be fairly
Does that have
straightforward.
to do, does that have to do with that rec fee? Is that what that has to do with, really?
Well, yeah, so in other words, if the value of your property has changed and whatever the value is, and I think it's 10%, Bill, if I'm correct?
Yes.
Is that 10% of the property value or the property
The
value?
differential, I think, the differential, right, Bill?
Yes.
So in other words, if it's worth $100 today and tomorrow it's worth $110, you paid 10% of the $10 increase.
And you
So you
pay
pay
the
$1.
differential of the two of them. Got you. I got you. Okay.
Okay.
Very good. So that would be the next, we'll talk about that at the next workshop, in other words?
So yeah, so come to the next workshop. Hopefully we will have the information from the town assessor. You might want to also give him a call, tomorrow or whatever, just to see, if he's making any movement on this. And,
Okay.
his name is Todd. I don't know what his last name is.
Is he up in Eastchester?
He's in Eastchester, yes.
No, Todd left.
Oh, who do we have now?
I have to see. I don't know who we have. I believe Todd retired this month.
Oh, good timing, Mr. Tawil.
That depends on who's asking. Good timing.
Yeah. Okay.
I like Todd.
All right. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, no, that's currently, I guess, we'll get to being resolved at that point. I have the property for sale, and I have people that are interested in the properties once they're separated. So I just trying to get a time frame, but we may be able to get something going by the next meeting and the workshop and the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
As long as we get the information, we should move. I don't want to keep you here forever.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
The other thing, Antonio, we're gonna need, if he wants to move forward, is we're gonna need a linen
A linen.
from the surveyor. So everybody can sign.
You got that, Mr. Tawil?
A linen, it's called a linen.
Linen, yeah.
Yeah. What,
Basically, you sign on a Mylar,
Once
right?
it's approved, Paul, once it's approved, then you get that. You'll ask your surveyor for it and they'll provide it for you.
okay,
We'll wait
once we
till it's
get through the
approved.
next steps. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
All right.
Bill, does this have to be referred to the county also?
I'll take a look and see, Gary. If it is, I'll do it when I do Barducci's.
Well,
Thank you.
Gary, I have a question for you. Is the MTA considered its own entity, so it would be within 500 feet? Otherwise, it's not. Otherwise, I don't know if
It's
it
an
is.
entity, but it's a quasi municipal entity, if
So
that helps you.
Well, that's what it means, so.
I did, but
that
this has nothing to
counted-
do with, this has
Does that
nothing to
count
do
as
with.
part of the
Sorry, it doesn't
500
hurt to
feet?
send it up.
Would, does that count as part of the 500 feet? Because that's gonna be the only thing that's gonna trigger them in my eyes.
Bill, let's be safe just because Metro North is a separate, their own entity type.
No, Gary, I'll send it to the county. It's no big
Yeah.
deal.
Let's just be safe on it.
Okay. Are we all good? All right, guys. Thank you, Mr. Tellis.
All right. Thank you very much.
Have a good
I
evening.
appreciate it. All right. Thank you.
Is 31-33 Main Street here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Oh, hi, how are you?
Chairman Leo, how are you? Members of the board? Evening. Yeah. Hi, Mike. Hi, Bill. Bob Stanzi, I'm the architect for 3135 Main Street. The owner of the property is MAGJ Realty. Dominic Brescher is here, who you heard from briefly before online.
Sorry.
Representing the owner, Dominic. So this is I'm going to share my screen if I could. Okay. Can you see that or no? Not yet.
Yeah.
Share screen. There we go. Okay. Anyway, so this property, which is part of the building post offices, I'm sure you're familiar with it. First of all, let me apologize for not we're not able to attend the last work session. I apologize for not being there. Of our representatives, but anyway, so this building 3135 Main Street also, for the most part, incorporates the post office, and obviously the small corner over here with the Fresco Market formerly occupied the space. We have a tenant who's looking to go in here who wants to operate a dance school, sort of a schematic floor plan on the left-hand side where the reception area and dance floor and a couple of classes will be located in the back. We need a special permit from your board. We also needed a variance from the zoning board for parking spaces. There's a parking lot to the rear, but we only have 2 parking spaces that are dedicated. And based on the square footage, we need to have 19 parking spaces. We had appeared before the zoning board a couple of weeks ago and presented this to them. And they had asked that we at least try to secure parking spaces by permit for at least 4 or 5 parking spaces for the employees for the dance school. Basically, the operation of the school itself is going to be sort of later in the day. It's going to take place probably around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's mostly for younger kids, but there's some older teenagers that come in the evening. So their hours of operation are primarily from about 3 p.m. to about 9 p.m. Obviously,
Monday through Friday?
Monday through Saturday.
And Saturday is still 3 to 9?
Saturday will be Saturday mornings as well. Yes.
So it's Saturday mornings, what time you think?
9 o'clock.
9 to 9 or 9 to 3?
No, 9 to 5. 9 to 5 on Saturdays. So they have most of their employees actually are actually Broadway performers who will take the train to Tuckahoe to they're the teachers, the instructors who are going to be here. But they're again, they're going to be teaching students who are probably about 5 years old till about 15 or 16 years old in various levels in the classes here. Main Street obviously is not a perfect spot to drop off here in front of the school. So what we've worked out with the owner is a drop-off area in the back of the building where the post office parking lot is. We're going to develop this rear entrance over here as a nice entrance, a storefront glass entrance, which you'll have access to a hallway, which will give a stairwell that goes underneath and come back up in this dance school in this corner over here at the far left. So they'll be able to come underneath the building, basically into the space. It's a finished space now, but it's not a basement area. And it's also a fire rated corridor that will give access to it as well. So that's if they're dropped off in the back. I mean, they do have the option of walking around to the front. The drop off area, again, back here, sort of schematically located. They'll be able to access the platform, which is really a loading platform commonly shared with the post office. We're going to be illuminating that a little bit better. We're going to be improving the stairwell, as I said, improving the entrance into the space itself. And we just anticipate cars coming in, dropping off and going out. The studio itself will have a couple of staff members who will receive any students coming into the back so they can direct them directly into the space without being confused as to where to go. Obviously, if they do once or twice, they'll know where they're going. We did reach out to the village, and we're going to be able to get, I think, most recently with Len Brandis' last application, that a parking lot where Growlers is, about four spaces will be available there that we can permit to apply to this application, to this use that we would make part of the any resolution that was that might go forward from here. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. I don't know, Dominic, if you have anything to add, or?
No, that we will move forward and accept the fees for the leasing of the spaces, which I believe they had mentioned in the zoning board, which totals 5, including the 2 we have allocated. So we just want to say that we will move forward and agree to that. And basically the drop-off area will be focused on the rear of the building rather than the front. After speaking to the proposed tenant, we've pretty much stated to her that we will make the entrance in the rear just as attractive as the one in the front, so that they will have 2 means of getting into the proposed dance studio.
Okay. Yeah, this is so your operator is not here, right? Not part of this.
No, they're not on currently, Mr. Chairman. No.
Okay, so would it be possible to have them attend the next workshop? I'd like to kind of
Absolutely, yes. Yep.
Their business, just get it from the horse's mouth, as they say.
Yeah, no.
Going on here.
Sure.
I know that's a very active. It's a difficult corner, as you said. It's very and the concern. My first concern when I first saw this application was, people have tendency to kind of be lazy and drop off the kids in front of school. And I could just imagine the issues it could cause on Main Street. So I think one of the conditions of this approval is going to be no drop off whatsoever on Main Street, in my opinion.
Absolutely, no, I agree. Yeah.
You cannot have that, because it's just going to be chaos.
We create a mess.
That is a main artery that goes east-west, and I mean, no drop off there whatsoever, right? I also know that the postal parking lot is somewhat busy, and the drop off just seems to be like an arbitrary location, like right in the middle. It's basically stopping and dropping your child off in the middle of a parking lot. Will there be someone to receive the kids? How does that work? Will mom?
There'll be 2 staff members there to receive the kids.
I think that's why it's important to really understand the operation. That's why it's important to have the operator be part of this application. So that's my perspective. Is the drop off should be maybe a little more designated rather than just arbitrary in the center there. Okay. Will you? And the other thing is, I mean, I know you're going to go up and down on this. Sounds like, right? Is there any sort of ADA requirements that are going to become an issue for you guys? I know typically you associate, dancing with able-bodied people, but there's also, can't discriminate, basically.
Again, I mean, the ADA access would be if they are dropped off and use the sidewalk to come around to Main Street to the front entrance. I mean, that would be ADA access. So, there's no elevator or lift.
Right, and then I would just like to understand, we're bringing children from the back, going down into, I guess, a cellar area, going across this entire building and then popping back up again. I'd like to understand how that works. Again, I just need to. I personally, I wouldn't drop off my child and ask him to go through the door, down a basement, come across and come back up again. So again, I just need to feel comfortable that, that all the proper precautions are going to be taken with this application.
Yeah. Again, we'll have the potential tenant here the next time. But the zoning board did ask us to provide an actual plan, a basement plan showing where the actual corridor would be, what it would be like for the access itself, which we have to give to them, and we'll certainly provide you with as well.
Yeah, make sure, you have some cameras down there, so, nothing.
Yep.
And how are you going to control the rear door? I mean, who has access? I mean, those are all important security features that
Absolutely
have to be taken into consideration. Anyone else on the board have any questions?
Yeah, I do, Antonio. There was a small inconsistency between Mr. Stanziel and Mr. Brescia. There was back and forth with the zoning board whether there was going to be an extra 4 spaces or 3 spaces necessary. I think Mr. Stanziel said there was going to be 4 off-site in our parking lot. I think Mr. Brescia said 3. So I think we just need to clarify that, because I don't think the zoning board really made a determination. I think they're going back and forth. So they may would want some input from you guys of whether it should be 4 or 3 off-site. And I think that had to do with the number of employees. I think that's what the zoning board was looking at.
Right.
So if they can tell you who's going to be there, then you guys can recommend something and I could take that back to the zoning board.
I understood it to be 4, but anyway.
Rob, if I can interject, the amount that they had come up with was 3,000 and change. It was 1,100 per spot. Christie, our development attorney, after the last meeting, I don't have the letter in front of me, had stated that the total amount that we would incur for 3 spaces, approximately 1,100 per space. I believe it used to be 1,700. They lowered it since COVID or what have you. And the total amount that we would expend is approximately 3,300. So that's why I'm stating it's 3. I may not have been well versed on that, but I read the letter that she had sent me after the last zoning board meeting, and that's what she had,
We'll verify that, Gary. Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Stanziel. I thought it was 4 also, but if you're going to make a pitch for 3, you should probably do it here also, so they can send the recommendation to the ZBA saying, yeah, we would be okay with 3 or not okay with 3. We need 4.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's why it's important to have the operator be present at this meeting so we can fully understand what the business model is and so on and so forth.
Absolutely. Yes.
Antonio,
Yes, sir.
I think that we should get something from the post office, because that parking lot in the afternoon is so active with the trucks coming back and unloading that it's probably the unsafest place in the corner.
I know. That's my biggest concern.
I agree, Bill. It's that whole corner is busy. That post office lot is busy. You can't even pull in and out of there. The whole corner is so active. So a lot of concerns.
And I'm not sure that the post office would be in favor of property that they lease and insure, having other people travel on it. I think if that's the case, we should get something from the post office in the form of some type of waiver acknowledging that they're going to be using that rear entrance.
Yeah, I know, Bill. I know what you're saying. I know the post office has said to the owner that they don't have any problem with us certainly using the parking spaces after hours. But again, the post office is the federal government, and to get something in writing from them is not.
Yeah, but it won't be after hours. In other words, you're there from 3 to let's say you said 3 to 9. Post office, I believe, doesn't close until 5. I could be wrong.
Well, Rob, I have a question. It's Mike.
The safest place for drop off is really across to where the train station is. That's
Rob,
the safest.
Rob, do you know with the landlord, is he control the lot, or does the post office rent that lot?
The landlord does. Yeah.
Oh.
But what does the lease say?
That's what I'm asking. Who controls the lot? Does the post office lease that lot or is it part of their lease?
They lease those parking spaces. I don't know to what degree they lease the parking lot. So we have to.
Well, that's why we're
And you
questioning
can,
that.
yeah, because it may be language in there that indicates that, they have sole use of the parking lot.
Right.
It'll be easy. Just get a copy of the lease.
Exactly.
Right, Bill. Yep. Okay. Do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The only safest place is across the street when you're dropping off at the train station.
I agree.
That lot near Starbucks is it.
I think the one across from Village Hall is probably the safest.
Yeah, that's the safest. That's the safest.
Well, when we had frescoes in there, guys, that's what they did. They had no parking. They would walk across the street. That's just
Yeah,
reality.
no, you have to. That's the problem.
That's what they had.
Maybe we should do that, Rob. Okay.
And there's 2 crosswalks right there.
And more of a prevailing crosswalk in front of this new facility.
It's good. There's good traffic lighting that allows pedestrians to get through there. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a
So,
safe.
I mean, we might make a suggestion that, like we did with the daycare down there, is that you have to have somebody there while before the class, so people will help these kids get across the street or something.
Correct. Yes.
I just know my daughter's in dance now. It's mayhem in front of the place. And
Yeah.
Right.
It's crazy.
So is mayhem at Dance Studios.
You've actually got those spaces at 25 Main that I think you mentioned before, but those certainly are available now, it seems.
Right. Unmetered. Yep.
Yeah.
I think Bill Williams can walk them down from Village Hall to the school if he's willing. But
Also, I noticed the rear entrance has it's like an elevated platform.
Correct.
With rather weak fencing around it. I mean, is that looks a little bit dangerous for people to be going up and down?
Yeah, Mr. Wilson, we're going to have to rebuild those stairs and make that a proper entrance over there, no doubt. So there's a little bit of construction that has to take place to meet code. So
Do you have photographs of the back of the building?
I don't have it currently, but
Okay. So I guess the concern is it's a loading dock. It's got to have, gate. It's got to have. So I'd like to understand what that looks like, and having a floor plan of the basement also would kind of clarify some questions that we have.
Not a problem. Absolutely.
Tony, you might want to just do a site visit at some point, buddy.
I would think, yeah, we probably.
The ZBA also asked for pictures of the downstairs and the steps getting downstairs and then upstairs on the other side. So that might be helpful.
I know that. No doubt. Absolutely. Yes. We'll have that for zoning board and for the next work session here.
Rob, can I just interject for a minute? It sounds like this board is more concerned about this parking lot, the parked cars with the post office. It sounds like we should be maybe using or getting access to building from the front and using these clearly delineated walks that cross the street. I mean, it sounds like that's the consensus here. The back areas, maybe because we wanted to get off the street, it's actually creating more problems for us. I mean, certainly this used to be a deli before. There was no controls, there were adjustable parking scenarios, people running in and out. This is more of a controlled environment, I would say. So maybe a site visit is the way to go. Maybe we just forego the whole rear thing, except for the 2 allocated parking spaces for the owners, ownership of the dance studio. I don't know.
No. Let's keep the format what we have right now. Please provide us with the documentation we just requested.
Okay, so leave that. Okay, that's fine.
We have that as an alternate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. All right.
Okay. Anybody else on the board have any questions?
And you.
No. Okay. Well, thank you. All right. So we'll see you guys at the work session, hopefully. Please have your operator there so we can fully understand the program and how they're working.
You want to open it up to public?
Yeah.
No, you can't because you got to get
zoning,
your
right?
variance first, so they can open it up next meeting and close the next meeting.
Right.
So what happens is before this board can open it to the public, they have to have what's called a complete application. Complete applications, any variances that have been granted, which hasn't been done yet, so we can't do it.
Gary, can the planning board give any, are we at this point where they'll give recommendations to the zoning, or we're not there yet?
No, I'd like to understand the operation before we do that.
Yeah, and I think at the work session, they can say, yes, so, you know, there's 3 or 4 spots off-site or whatever it is, they can.
Right, so the
send
zoning
it over
board,
to the board.
zoning board's not gonna be doing a resolution next meeting, correct?
Well, I think the plan was, after speaking with the operator, they were hoping to try to do it next meeting. Because
Right.
what happens is July, we don't meet in August. So if it's put over to September, she loses the fall
Well,
class.
that's why I'm asking it, what is the planning board gonna give anything to the zoning board? Or we're just gonna-
We can do that at the work session.
Work session, okay.
Yeah, because it's before the zoning board. So it goes work session, zoning board, and this board. So if all goes smoothly, they can get out next month. But if there are problems, then obviously we're into September, which has caused us a problem with the applicant. But they can go through that with you at the work session, the operator.
Yep, absolutely. We'll try to resolve all that. Thank you, Gary.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
All right, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Too.
All right, and since we have no other business, I make a motion to close the public hearing. Can I have a second, please?
So moved.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good night.